The Podsters, episode 29, Make America Great Again.
Woohoo! Episode 29. Welcome back, everybody.
Hope you had a great week. We sure did.
It was a nice week. It was a nice 3-day week after a 3-day holiday and then another 3-day weekend. It's going to start going back to work tomorrow.
I know, for a full 5 long days.
Ugh.
But it's still Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday Fun Day, which means we are podcasting.
Yes.
And this week's episode is called, like we said, Make America Great Again.
And how do you say we do such a thing?
Well, I don't have a concrete solution to how to make it happen, but I've seen patterns lately having to deal with permanent residency renewals, looking around social media, watching the news, and some things become apparent to where it's like, oh, I get so tired of this. And it don't matter if it's Donald Trump or Obama or any other person being the president.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes apparent that the whole Make America Great Again, I think, is more of a, what should we call it? A citizen, or the people of the United States are the ones that have to make that happen.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Not one person as a president, or even the politicians that we all like to blame can do it. It's all of our effort.
Right.
And to me, what I think has happened is that the U.S. acts like, I don't know what analogy, musical analogy, they act like that super band that has made 5 albums and all of a sudden they start to suck. Or, if you like sports, guys, the football team that leads the, what's it called?
NFL.
Well, yeah, but that's special. The Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the Super Bowl Sunday team that has a major lead for the first 3 quarters. And then, 4th quarter, the underdog comes in and wins.
Yeah.
As in, it goes so great that people become complacent with it. And then they chill too much and start just living on old merits. Does that make sense? Yeah,
they what you're saying is that Americans look back to the glory days, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, when the economy was great and everybody had a house with a white picket fence kind of thing, right?
That and also when America truly was great, it was the leading manufacturing company. It was the leading educational country.
Right.
It was a world leader, as it still wants to be. But it went so great that they started slacking off, and then it just became this whole, well, this was great 50 years ago. And the rest of the world has kind of sprinted ahead.
They've progressed.
And we're still stuck in what was great 50 years ago.
Right.
And it's not great anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, and I think it's that whole complacency mindset that has created it. If you look at when the U.S. was at its peak in the 60s and everything was great, what happened in the 70s was Japan, at that point, Japan and Korea started getting their feet wet into manufacturing. And at first it didn't go that great. I mean, their cars really sucked the first few attempts they made. Then they went, oh, that's not really great. What did we do wrong? Like, their cars used to rust a lot, for instance. So they went back and they researched and they came up with compounds to make them not rust. Then they built some truly great things. And then they didn't settle in saying, oh, we did great. So let's stop here. They kind of went, how can we improve this?
Yeah, how can we get better?
Yeah, how can we get better? And that constant striving to improve and become better is what has made them both surpass the US and to continue to put out sometimes wacky things, but like they're constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened here. Somehow it just stopped. And it's almost like people, well, we went to the moon.
Uh-huh.
That's the greatest accomplishment, so now what? And then everybody leaned back and said, okay, well...
Well, I think what happens is that whoever or whomever goes and strives for the specific positions that they run for as far as politics goes.
Uh-huh.
They build it up. They build up their leadership, they build up their followers and stuff, and they get into office and they've made it, and they're like, yeah, they've got all kinds of kickbacks and whatnot. And they're in like Flynn, so all they have to do is continue to accept kickbacks and vote the way those kickbacks should be voted for and stuff like that. So it becomes the point where that politician, that leader or whatever becomes complacent with what they're doing and loses focus of their initial platform.
Right, but my first question with that is, when did that started happening?
I
mean, at one point it must have just started happening.
It's always been that way, but for some reason it's kind of snowballed into something that has just, it seems like every inch inch of the government is corrupt,
but okay,
per se.
No, but I'll go with that politically. But when it comes to these big companies, when did they start band-aiding things? Because to me, that's what they do today. They roll out plans that aren't fully thought through and programs.
Uh-huh.
And then they go, oh shit, this didn't work. Let's put a Band-Aid on it. And then they put fixes on fixes upon fixes. Whereas other places, they run all their testing, they implement everything, they try everything, and then they roll it out. When it comes to, like I said, manufacturing, that's not a political thing. Those are companies that once upon a time did things. Whereas today, it's just complacent, and as long as you wave the American flag and you scream USA as loud as you can, the world is peachy. And it's not the case. Instead of listening to when people say, hey guys, why don't we improve this? If you really want to be the forerunner of things, if it's constructive criticism, you should listen to it and see how you can improve on what was wrong.
Right, that's
but the mindset
you're
here,
supposed to do.
Right. But the mindset here, I see it even on, well, like people post, 7 things foreigners find strange with the US. They don't even say that this sucks or anything. It's like, this is different from what we're used to. Mm-hmm. The comment field on that is all just a bunch of redneck, oh, American haters, why don't you stay home? Why don't, you all suck. And it's like, that's not how it goes. You should listen to it. Some of these points are actually kind of valid.
Right.
Such as, for instance, somebody thought it was strange at restaurants here, how you actually just, you sign your bill and you give a stranger your credit card and they run off with it. No one says that sucks, but they say, hey, I find that strange because would you leave your wallet with a complete stranger?
Uh-huh.
No, you wouldn't, right? And the criticism there, if you want to call it criticism, is that that's not a very secure way of handling your money.
That's very true.
But the comments on that is the whole, well, you don't like it, go home. And that seems to be the whole mentality here. That unless you're patriotic, quote unquote, waving the flag, screaming that the U.S. is the greatest there ever is and was, fuck off. And I think that's part of what makes America not great. Listen to the concern. Because it is a valid concern. Would you give your wallet filled with thousands of dollars to a stranger? No. How do other people do this? Well, they have implemented this, for instance, certain restaurants here. They have the little stations at the desk.
Yeah.
You swipe your card
Yeah,
at the
they have
table,
a little machine.
Or you pay when you leave the restaurant, so you're physically there with your card all the time. And the other thing they've had those little manual card sweepers with them.
There you go again, is the whole restaurant mentality is still based off of the shit that was going on in the 50s and 60s.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
And
but instead of...
they didn't anticipate the fact that a piece of plastic can, has the ability to ruin a person,
Right, but here are the facts. Now, this piece of plastic can ruin a person.
Yeah.
Other countries have come up with solutions.
They've realized that. That's the thing. They've realized that. And I don't know if other American restaurants and chains and stuff like that have realized that.
Well, I think they're starting to now. But my point with it is, you can't blame... It's not Donald Trump's fault. It's not politicians' fault. It's not even the chain's fault. It's this
just
mindset.
Forward thinking.
Yeah, but it's that mindset again here to say, oh, we couldn't anticipate that in the 60s, so here we are 40 years from then, and we ain't gonna do shit about it. It's that whole, once again, because America's the greatest. Mm-hmm. No, in this case it wasn't. Move with the times. Keep up with them and try to stay a step ahead instead of just be furious when somebody says that, hey, this isn't that smart.
Yeah.
That's my point with it. We all know now that sugary drinks or sweet drinks, sweeteners, aren't good.
Right.
So other countries go, oh, maybe we should try and put less sugar or sweeteners in it, or maybe we should try and do something about it.
Don't they ban sweeteners in certain countries?
Yes, certain sweeteners that are really bad for your health are banned. And here, what do we do here? Well, it's my constitution to do whatever the fuck I want. Leave my sweeteners alone. And it's just this whole... Because they worked in the 1960s. Well, you guys do that to everything except cigarettes. Because cigarettes are the devil's food these days.
But, little do those simpletons know is that, the sugar that they're used to having in their products have been modified from regular sugar to corn syrup and all kinds of... items that are GMO, which is genetically modified.
Right, but instead of screaming that all that is socialist and Jew propaganda, and people who don't like sweeteners could move from the U.S., the more intelligent way of doing things would actually... Don't care so much that somebody said that in the U.S. this is going on. Just listen to the facts and then say, oh, maybe we should change our ways.
Uh-huh.
And once again, we're not. It's people have been complacent and they listen to people with titles and quote unquote fearless leaders too much. I guess once again, as what the podsters are all about, use your own brains.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. People, instead of being offended when somebody says, this works better elsewhere, try to listen to what it is that doesn't work and get on to improving it. And we will get ahead of the world once again.
And let me tell you that this is one thing that I've learned in my adult life is, you know what? It's not worth getting mad over what somebody says. But hey, go up and talk to that person and say, hey, well, can you explain to me why you feel this way? Instead of arguing with that person, because maybe you may see their perspective and understand what they're saying and what they're thinking a little bit more rather than getting into an altercation or a confrontation. Just, talk, speak to each other. And again, that may be hard these days because nobody speaks to each other.
That could be part of it too, but try it, because if you try to see the other side of things, and you actually take to heart what really seems to be the problem and look at it from different perspectives, chances are that you may improve yourself or your life doing it.
And what was really... It almost made my grocery shopping experience somewhat pleasant the other day was when I went to go get some celery and I needed to get one of those little plastic bags to put my celery in. And I'm sorry if I'm not being all eco-friendly or whatnot. But anyway, so I'm getting the celery, and I notice I need the bag, so I look up, and right above me is a little thing where you pull the bag from. And I noticed that this lady next to me was kind of searching for it, and she was reaching up to the one above her that was completely out. So I grabbed the one that I had and gave it to her, and I was like, here you go. Looks like you need one. And she was kind of caught off guard in the fact that I gave her one.
Right.
And I could see her, and I, like, just the dumb look on her face was getting on my nerves, but I was like, I know what she needs. Just be nice and give it to her.
And you probably made her day at the end of it all.
Yeah, and you know what? She ended up, like, carrying on a conversation, and I don't like chit-chat, but I was like, hey, I did a nice thing. She's doing a nice thing by talking back, and that's how people, interact and are civil with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I can guarantee you that me and her don't have the same political views or values or whatnot.
No, but I can guarantee you that she'll come home, too, and have a little nice story about the lady in the grocery store who gave her a bag when she needed it.
Yeah.
And that kind of cooperation and mentality is what's going to propel this country forward.
It's what should, but unfortunately, I don't think there are enough people out there with that kind of mentality that are out there to run the country or anything like that.
No, but we don't need the politicians to do it. We need each other to do it. And
True.
We start here. It's part of the Podster movement.
Because that's one thing that I really cannot stand is ignorance, in the sense that, you can get upset with how things are going, running in your life, and you can blame the government, or you can blame whoever you think is ruining your life. But you know what? Get up and do something about it,
right,
instead of just making everybody's life miserable around you by, just being unpleasant.
Yeah, get up and do something about it. Once again, don't expect others to do it for you. And with that, another thing that I think could make America great again too is we need to stop listening to people that have a title for the sheer fact that they hold a title.
True.
Because a lot of times, I've noticed this lately too, they use their title as a defense for stupid behavior. And really, that's not making them smart. That should, in everybody's eyes, really call them out and make them look stupid.
Yeah, and people...
Case in point, we have a couple of great ones. For instance, somebody had their weapons stolen from their car. They put their weapons there overnight, and somebody broke in and stole their weapons.
Okay.
This was pointed out, whereas the person who had their weapons stolen comes back with, well, I'm actually in the Navy, so I know a thing or two about weapons safety because we took weapons safety classes. Well, Sherlock, you fucking were asleep during those classes then, weren't you? What does your profession have to do with the fact that you act like a jackass? Where does you being in the Navy and having to take a weapons class defend the fact that you put dangerous items in your car overnight and they got stolen?
Right.
Or the other one, the asshole cop here that drives through the neighborhood, not on duty, running down the street 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And when being called out goes, well, I'm actually with the police force, so I know a thing or two about traffic safety. Well, obviously, dumb fuck, you don't. Because if you did, you would know that driving 60 miles an hour in a residential neighborhood filled with kids, pets, and pedestrians, and cars parked on the side of the street is not very safe.
Right. It's almost like a lot of people of authority don't know how to practice what they preach.
Right.
And I've seen that a lot. I mean, I've seen it my entire life. I mean, that's why I sometimes have issues with authority.
Yeah, but these people make you have issues with them because I can't trust anything you say. You've
Exactly.
already proved that you're a complete moron.
Okay. And this is what I have to say. If you're a person of authority and you're talking to me about an issue that you have with me, I would say, tell me what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And let me know how you know what you know.
Right.
And I'll determine whether or not you're right or wrong.
Yeah. Honestly.
But don't be pushing your title in my face.
No, because actually at the end of the day, your title doesn't mean shit. And both of these people, I would find it really funny to actually get in touch with their offices and let them know what happened. And then ask if they think that these persons are fit to both be driving vehicles and have guns for private use.
Right.
Because your title doesn't mean anything. Really. It's either your work or what you do, your actions that determine if you're a good person or not.
Right.
So, yeah, stop waving your titles around. And people, please, don't just listen to other people because of their title. It doesn't mean that they're right or know it all. And third...
Think for yourself and question them, please.
Yes.
Thirdly.
Guys, and it comes back, I guess, more to the whole don't just listen to authorities, find out things for yourself.
Right.
This whole, the U.S. is so secure, blah, 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 is complete bullshit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I will tell everybody who listens that, well, why do I say that? You guys have the greatest military force in the world, and you have TSA, and you have a bunch of departments
and
for
Homeland Security. Yeah.
And the president is going to build a wall, all that shit. Look, none of that matters if the rules that aren't already put in place gets enforced. And when they get enforced, same thing there, swift, efficiently, and timely manners. Case in point. I had to renew my green card. I'm a permanent resident, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had to pay a bunch of money, and let's just say that it's about 20 times more expensive than getting your driver's license.
Okay.
Did that. It took forever, and then they come back with, well, you have a biometrics appointment set up.
Okay, what's a biometrics appointment?
A biometrics appointment means that you're supposed to go to a place where other lawful residents have to show up every now and then. So it's not a detention facility or anything like that. It's a little office.
How often do you have to renew?
Every 10 years.
Okay, so every 10 years you have to do this, schedule a biometrics appointment?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you have to go there, and they're supposed to weigh you, take your measurements, look at your eye colors. Hang on, I'm not done.
Okay,
I'm just telling you what it entails.
Woo, okay.
So you're supposed to show up there, and then you're supposed to basically do a little doctor's exam, and you're not supposed to do it. The persons there are supposed to do it.
They do an exam?
Yeah, well, they're supposed to measure you, weigh you, look at your hair color, your eye color, and then you're supposed to have fingerprints in the system. Like, they take your fingerprints,
okay,
and then they run them through the system to make sure that you still are you.
Okay.
Check in, so that you haven't swapped identity with someone else.
Okay, makes sense, yeah.
And then after that they put it all in their little computer, and then they're supposed to spit out a renewal card for the next 10 years, and that's it.
Okay, so that's the process.
That's the process.
All right.
So, well, that's on paper. And it sounds safe and secure, right, guys? That sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, I saw those papers for renewal and stuff, and that's like... looks like some real federal, documentation and
right
stuff like that. But
right. So here's the thing: I got an appointment, and you came with me to the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And because Google Maps was stupid, and there was construction, and there was weather, we ran late for the appointment.
Yeah. So while I knew we were going to run late. So I was like, okay, let me try to call this office and let them know we're running late. I mean, that's the least we could do to kind of see if we could still squeeze in the appointment, or if they're going to cancel and we can just turn around and go back home or something. Right. So I'm like dialing the number. And it's a 1-800 number, and it's all freaking automated. And it's like, if you want to da-da-da-da-da, press 1. If you want to da-da-da-da-da, press 2. If you want to... I was like, oh my God, I speak English, and I don't get what they're trying to fucking say here.
Yeah, there was no way to get in touch with an actual person.
Yeah, you couldn't get in touch with a person. I was like, you know how you can do that sneaky, just press 0 and you'll get an operator?
Uh-huh.
I did that, and it didn't work.
Well, so anyways, 15 minutes late, we roll up to this place.
But can you only imagine if that deters an English-speaking person, how that would deter somebody who doesn't speak English? I mean, I'm pretty sure they have different options for different languages and stuff like that.
Yeah, but none of them would help.
But yeah,
especially not when you get these very formal letters sent to you where it's basically you do this or we're going to kick you out of the country.
Uh-huh.
But anywho, 15 minutes late, we roll up. And mind you guys, this is a little place that caters only to people that are lawful here. So it's not like asylum seekers or people that have been detained.
Definitely doesn't look like Ellis Island there. Okay, when we showed up, I mean, I figured there was going to be quite a bit of people there. I figured it was going to be like the Social Security office or something, you know?
Because it's by appointment.
Uh-huh.
So, if we would have been on time, it would only have been the two of us in there, probably.
Okay.
So, you guys got to keep this in mind. This is not some sort of courthouse or anything. This is just simply for people that are law-abiding residents. You walk through the doors, and there's 5 guards there. 2 that were working, and then they had their 3 buddies standing around.
Uh-huh.
And the size of the actual office was minimal. I mean, 5 officers in that office alone.
I just thought it was weird that it was in a strip mall, nonetheless.
They put them in strip malls because it's...
I just thought that was weird. I thought it was going to be in some kind of municipal building in San Antonio.
The courthouse, or you go somewhere. No, this is a little place in a strip mall. And when you come in, it's worse than the fucking airport in terms of their security. And mind you guys, this is not where you would go to like try to free someone that has been detained or anything. This is just for guys like me that want to renew our green card status.
Yeah.
No, 5 guards greets you.
Uh-huh.
And it's this whole, take off your belt, take off your shoes, take off this, go through metal detectors. When we finally got into the room, now 20 minutes late, no one bats an eye about the fact that we didn't show up on time.
Yeah, nobody said anything. They're like, oh, can I help you?
Uh-huh, and with me I had my green card, driver's license, social security, all these formal papers. I go up to the counter with the lady to I figured, sign in.
Uh-huh.
So I ask her, do you want, my social? Do you want my driver? No. Just give me your green card. So all these other papers, they didn't give a shit about.
Okay.
Okay, let the biometrics begin, right?
Okay.
So how tall would you say you are? It's the question I get. So I tell her, I'm this tall. Okay, how much do you weigh? I tell her a weight. She doesn't even bat an eye when I detract 20 pounds. She asked me about my eye color and my hair color. All this without even looking up from her papers. Okay. I could have told her my eyes were fucking green and she would have put that in.
Okay.
So there was no biometric screening in terms of actually doing their job. Okay. She didn't weigh me. She didn't look at my height. I told her what I thought was appropriate.
Okay.
And she went with that to plug in the system. Then we finally go to get me fingerprinted. And technically, they're supposed to have my fingerprints on file, so if I do something iffy, they can track me down and kick me out of the country.
Okay.
She takes my fingerprints, and then she laughs and goes, oh, your fingerprints aren't in the system, and laughs. That, guys, is your national security.
Yeah.
I have been here for 10 years without any fingerprints being in the system. And to me, it's not funny. It's not ironic. It's nothing. It's actually infuriating because I'm here legally. I pay fucking boatloads of money for this. And these past 10 years, I could have committed any crime without having been found. And think about this, guys. I'm quote unquote one of the good guys. I do this basically voluntarily.
Yeah.
What about these creepy creeps? The guys you're afraid of? The guys that you think that your military and your government keep a close eye on? If I was a terrorist and my fingerprints wouldn't have been in the system for 10 years...
That's kind of scary.
I want you guys to think about that and realize how scary that is. That is 100 times scarier than not having a wall facing Mexico. The fact that this government don't even follow up on non-citizens residing here is 10 times scarier than some poor little lady crawling over the border from Mexico to clean you guys' house for less than minimum wage.
Right.
If all this was taken care of, if you guys, instead of screaming something now about USA, USA, and go out waving a flag, if you guys got upset with this, if you guys tried to get some change going, that, my friends, would make America great again.
For the love of humanity.
Till next week, guys. Hope you enjoyed.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.